Crown Heights, Brooklyn. From born and raised in Crown Heights, Ocean Avenue, Pacific Street, there was over there, St. Mark's Avenue. So I'm a Brooklyn kid through and through. Went to Westinghouse High School for a bit, and transferred over and went to Martin Luther King in Manhattan. I graduated from there. So it's a little bit about like my connection. I was in Brooklyn. I still live in Brooklyn. My family still lives in Brooklyn. But I want to first start. So I've been able to give these sort of conversations and talks with young folks more than I can remember, from all parts of New York City, definitely all parts of Brooklyn. I've been blessed to be able to do it in all parts of the world as well. But before I get to like me being able to speak to young folks from all parts of the world, first we'll start with my connection to Brooklyn Lab, and I think it'll be the entry point to everything. And then we're gonna have a conversation. You gotta ask questions, writing questions, a bunch of questions about my story, etc. So Brooklyn Lab, around 2010 or so, 2010, 2011, I had ran a youth program in the school that was geared towards the boys who were having the most challenges in the school. So it's pretty much fitting in so many ways, full circle. I'm here in the room with the boys again. Not necessarily the boys who may have been in that situation, but I'm going to speak to boys, as I said, that look like you and me. And the program that I had ran along with three of my friends was called HOLLA. And HOLLA, H-O-L-L-A, was an acronym. And it stood for How Our Lives Live All Together. And that program still runs. I no longer run it. I have my friends, they still run it. They just took a bunch of kids to Tanzania just recently. But I'm going to tell you the history of that story, how that organization was started. I think it connects the story and the book. That program was started in one of the most non-traditional places where you would start a program for young people. That program was started in a correctional facility. So that program, HOLLA, was the idea, the brainchild of myself and several men who were inside of the New York State prison facility at that time. And when we were thinking about creating this program, this idea, it was born out of literally what I'm doing now. It was born out of the need to be able to reach back to the young folks who come from the same neighborhoods we came from, so they don't have to go to the neighborhood that we were currently in, which is a correctional facility. And I think it's very important for me to start as a writer too. Because part of what writing does, or what you can do with writing, is that you can create the realities that you have inside of your head. You can create the aspirational realities that you want. You can even go back in time and remix how the past happened. You can create your own future in it. You can create your own present in it. The book that I wrote, Uncaged, and Abolitionist Freedom Song, that you all have, that's an autographed copy, and this is the paperback version, so there's a hardcover version of it also. This book that you have in your hands is a book of pretty much my entire life, up until the day I was released in December 23rd, 2009. After being in there since October 16, 1999. And here's the interesting thing about writing, and some of you all, the autographs that I put inside the books, I wrote, for the most part, personal messages to the book. Now, I don't know you all, some folks I've seen before at other events, but for the most part, I don't know you all, right? Personally, right? Intimately. But there's something that I feel like is a message I should give to folks when I'm signing the book. I don't just put my name. Many authors, there's not a knock on the author, but they'll just write the name and just go about. I want to write a little something in the name, just a couple of words, just to say, like, it's for you to do what you will with those words. Someone asked me, I don't know who you were, but someone asked me, like, what was your process? How long did it take you to write this book? I remember you. And I had told him it took about 3-4 years to write this book. That's somewhat true. But there's a long story to that. When I was in the 7th grade, I had a homeroom teacher, who said to me, after doing your homework assignments, etc., and he said to me, yo, Marlon, you got a knack for writing. Why don't you write for our school newspaper? okay, like I didn't know what that meant, and that's why I know I was never introduced to what writing could do or the possibilities of what writing could do. I said, okay, so I wrote for the school newspaper for, 7th, 8th grade, but didn't know what that meant. I just did an extracurricular activity. There's importance of extracurricular activities. Just put that in the parking lot for a second. I went to high school. Before I went to high school, this same teacher said, hey, I can get you in an internship program, writing for what was then called the 4th grade newspaper. Community newspaper for 4th grade, and it was sponsored by Spike Lee back in the 90s.
Oh, I know Spike Lee.
Right, there you go. Good for you, brother. Once again, though, I want to say this. In the knowing, even as you say you know Spike Lee, in the knowing of information at that time, I didn't know what to do with it. So if you're saying you know somebody, I'm trying to get you up on what you do with the information that you get, just like extracurricular activities. I did the internship summer program. I wrote for the newspaper. It was wonderful. Still didn't know what to do with that. I thought it was just another extracurricular activity. Moved on to high school. As I said, I went to Westinghouse for 1 year. Very true. As you read the book, please read the book. In that period of 9th grade, a lot of harmful, traumatic things happened to me. Right? That's sort of transitioned who type of kid that I thought I was. I'm not going to get details about it because it's a lot, and I don't have time to debrief what all that was. So I encourage you to read the book. But by that time, the things that I grew up in a household, my father is a Jehovah's Witness. I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness, knocking on doors and all that sort of stuff as a young kid. But by the time 9th grade happened, and the things that happened to me outside of the school, for the most part in 9th grade, in my neighborhood and in the community, it literally shifted my mindset. So me not knowing what to do with extracurricular activities, by that time when things, traumatic events happened to me, I no longer remembered what writing did for me. So you move from being a person who wrote for newspapers, community newspapers, school newspaper, was an honor roll student, valedictorian, all those sort of things. And then by the time I got to the 10th grade, I remember looking at my report card and I failed every class like 50, at the time a 55 average. From being an honor roll student to failing every class, I thought it was like funny to me at that time. Fast forward to senior year of high school, I barely graduated. When I say barely, I mean I got away with graduating. In fact, I tell you, at the graduation ceremony, I wasn't even supposed to be at it. I figured out how to be at a graduation ceremony, right? And I remember when we were about to walk up, my dean at the time came up to me and said, you're not supposed to be here, Marlon, but your parents are here, I'm gonna let you walk the stage. I eventually did some more extracurricular activities on the computer and I got a diploma. A year after that, I went to New York City Technical High School, downtown Brooklyn, for a year. I was on academic probation. A few months after that, I was shot. About a year after that, I found myself facing a life prison sentence. Once again, the things that were offered to me as a young person, I didn't know what to do with it. Something like this event here, something that's offered to you as young folks, think about what you do with it. October 16, 1999, I was 19 years old, going on 20. And I remember being inside of a courtroom and attorney saying to me, because the crime I was arrested for happened in Manhattan, and he said to me, listen, the district attorney is the person who prosecutes you when you get arrested, right? And he said to me, listen, the district attorney doesn't believe in the death penalty, but you are facing it. And at that time, New York State still had the death penalty. My role was being a lookout in a robbery that went terribly wrong. I never had a weapon, never even saw the people that were harmed. But I was a part of this crew of people. And because I was a part of this crew of people, we were all arrested as doing the same thing. It's actually a term called felony murder. There's somebody who was killed in this crime. Now, when it comes to the power of words, and answering that question, when did this book start, that you asked me earlier. The writing of this book sort of started then. Now, I didn't write it down at that point in time, but one of the things that came back to me then, at that point in time, all those extracurricular activities I was telling you about, being in a cage for that time, now it came back to me. Now, at that time, people might say, well, it's too late then. At the time, I was facing a life sentence. But I knew that my only outlet, the only skill, the only talent that I knew, the only way to deal with what I was going through at that time was to write it down. So the way my writing process started was through writing a journal. And I kept the journal for the entire, eventually will become a decade that I spent inside. And I still have these journals in my apartment as we speak. In that time that I was away, through that writing of the journals, which became me doing interviews with other men in the facility, writing became like a refuge, it became a safe place for me. Among all the harshness of what you can imagine a prison life is, which it is, the writing was the only safe space that I had. It was the only place I could be vulnerable with myself. It was the only place I could be silly. It was the only place I could laugh. It was the only place I could write about the things that scare me, the things the negative things that still going through my head. It was the only place, the paper was the only place that I can go to as a safe space for me. And that's the beginning of this book. This is the beginning of that book, Bird Uncaged. Inspired very much by a person who I look to as is an ancestor of someone I look to as a mentor, even though I've never actually met her. So have anyone heard of the book, I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings? You had your hand up first. Who's the author of that book? Okay. Who can help him out? Who's the author of that book? Maya Angelou. Maya, which is the name of my only child. The writing of this book and the process of writing this book has now taken me to over 22 countries. It has allowed me to, I want to emphasize the process of writing the book has also gotten me that far, not just the final product. Because the process, which you read about in that book, is not just the process of writing, but the process of a boy becoming a man. And the process of a boy finally understanding all those extracurricular activities I was telling you about. And in some cases, what I didn't say yet, those adults who were saying, hey, you can do this, you can do that, why not check this out? The book is the process of me finally understanding those things. The other thing I want to say about that is that the writing of this book, someone, you did. If you read the book, I speak about my family and my relationship between my brother, which we had a very contentious relationship as kids growing up. And this gentleman walked up to me and he said, hey, how's the relationship? Apparently he read some of the book already. He said, well, how's the relationship with your brother? And I have spoken, and then but book talks all over the place, right? No one's ever asked me that question. And the relationship between my brother and I are wonderful now. But the book has also done for me, what writing has also done for me is help me heal relationships. The other thing that the book has done for me, now I mentioned I've been able to travel to all these countries, right? It has given me a testimony to speak to young people just like you in other parts of the world. Now my family's from the Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago, right? And it allowed me to go there and speak to young people there. In prisons, it has allowed me to go to places as far as South Africa and speak to young boys there. It has allowed me to go to places far, places I never imagined I would be. Some places I had never even heard of as a kid growing up, right? New Zealand. How many people know what New Zealand is? Y'all know where this is from. What's that? You do? No, I'm being silly. But what I'm saying is that in someone's book, or in a few of you all, I know I wrote in scripture something along the lines that your words can take you around the world. But it's not so much the words Each one of you have unique experiences. Even you might be from the same school campus, same borough, same neighborhood. You all have individual experiences. You have unique lessons that you can learn, but unique lessons you can teach. And the thing about it is that when I was writing all this stuff, I didn't know any of this stuff was going to happen for me. When I started writing that journal, I just needed some place to go to. And I couldn't physically go anywhere, so the only way I could go to was a place inside of my mind, the words that I could create, which made me a creative. I'm looking at you, I know you're speaking about being a creative topic, right? The other thing I want to say is this, and this is like really, it's personal, it's current, it's what words what have done for me. And I just want to have a little time for some Q&A about, my life, writing, etc. So I'm here under, me being here is extreme labor of love. So you're looking at the book, in the back of the book is an epilogue, it's a letter to my daughter, whose birthday was last Wednesday. She turned 2, her name is Maya. The other thing that happened last Wednesday is that my father passed. And for those years that I was away, words was the bond of our relationship. And in the passing of him this last week, a lot of folks are asking how you're doing, and I appreciate that, and you need to check in with people and go through things. And one of the things that I've been able to deal with in the moment of peace is that because of words, and my father struggled with 6 years of dementia, so he couldn't communicate for the last couple of years of his life. But one of the things that what words did for us, what it did for me, I have a written record of our relationship. I have a written record of our relationship I can share with my daughter. He passed the day my daughter's birthday. The thing about the experiences that we all have, and I'm as a black man from Brooklyn, one of the parents of immigrants, we have so much abilities, I'm going to use a term if you will, we have so many abilities, it's called trauma bond. Trauma bond. What that is that, you have going through a hard, so somebody else's father passed recently, there's a bond that we can have. Right? If you went through some incarceration, there's a bond. So like this incarceration is a traumatic experience. So there's a bond that we can have, right? And then you can go through so many other negative things that we can say is a trauma bond. But the other thing that we have as black folks is an amazing library of greatness. What I mean by that is that you all clapped for me when I said I had all the work I've done. I accept that because there's a level of the black greatness that I've been able to inherit. Despite the experience I've had in my past as a young person. I guess what I'm saying to you all is that, as juniors and seniors, where you're at, you have the ability to create the life that you want. I want you to settle in, because there's so many forces that tell you this is you can only fit into one little category, or this is the category that you will fit into. What I'm saying to you is that my limited options, my limited exposure, even ignorance, maybe even some arrogance, did not allow me to see back then where I am now. If you had asked me when I was sitting in this seat, in 1996, whatever it was, I was a junior or whatever in high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do with myself. I knew what answer to give. What do you want to do more? I can give you an answer because I know how to give you answers. Did I believe it? No, I didn't see how it could happen. What I'm saying to you is that you have the ability, whether it's through words or otherwise, to create the life that you want, but most of the life that you deserve. And I'm not saying that it's just like this absolute special speech. I'm saying that it's like a real life experience. nowhere as where I'm at in my life now, it was not in the plans. And now I get to share this with you. There's people here who have seen me speak or whatnot at other events and remember, came up to me and remembered me here today. I saw you at this other thing. That is amazing to me because once again, this was not in the cards for me. Me having a program in this school here a decade ago was not in the plans for me. And now I get to run an amazing organization now, College Community Fellowship, that now supports women through higher education, women who are formerly incarcerated to go to college. I get to do that. I get to do that. I don't have to do it. It's not my job to do it. I get to do it. It was not in the cards for me. Words are one of the things I was able to recreate the life for me. And the last one I would say, and I hope you got some good questions to ask me, or the comments to share. I got an opportunity to hear my father say, I'm proud of you. Despite the heartache I've caused him as a young person. And there's a peace in that. And in your age right now, some stuff may go over your head, how some of this settles in. But I'm going to say it again, because it's a part I want you to remember. You get to create the life you want. Like, let that sit for a second. I'm not, it's not an absolute special talk. This is me saying from my own experiences. And my life, my stories are still unfolding. That is book number 1. Right? That's book number 1. I close up by saying this. The title of this book is inspired by Maya Angelou, Uncaged. But the way I was introduced to Maya Angelou's book was during my incarceration, and it was at a time where you're inside of prison, but they put you inside of prison within the prison, right? And I was inside for 45 days or 90 days, what have you, inside a cage within a cage. And there was this book that somehow I got hold of. I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings. Maya Angelou is a black woman born, was in the 1930s, I believe, in Arkansas, in a rural part of Arkansas. What would I have in common with a black woman born in the 30s in rural Arkansas? If you read the book, and I encourage you to read the book, she also overcame some traumatic experiences as a young person. But I connected to her. And that connection to a woman I have never met allowed me to connect to you today. You might call it magic, I like to call it black magic, but the point is, what I'm doing to you is not just for you. What I'm saying here today is not just for you. When I wrote this book, when I'm giving it to you, is not just for you. It's for the people you get to come in contact with. That's kind of like how legacy works. Pass it on. That's how greatness works too. Pass it on. You know what I'm saying? With that said, are there some questions that I can take from folks in the room? Are there any comments that I can take from folks in the room? And so I saw what you're saying there.
Bryce.
Bryce, let's go, Bryce. What you got for me?
What was your first book talk?
My first book. It wasn't with this book. So I've been a contributor to other books. So I've contributed to a book that I've done some other writers supposed to be another. But one notable person is Colin Kaepernick, right? There's a book that he has, and I'm a contributor to that book as well. So in terms of my first book talk, I wrote an essay in a book called Love Lives Here Too. And the essay I wrote was called Love Covers Over a Multitude of Sins. And it's about the relationship with myself and my brother. I'm looking at him as the person that asked me about my brother. And so, and it's based on our relationship, my brother who we had, my blood brother, we had a contentious relationship, as I said. And the bookstore was at a bookstore in Harlem, Human Bookstore, which is no longer exists. But that was my first bookstore. Is a follow-up to that question?
Yeah. Was there, I know you were talking about when you were incarcerated, you had, like, reading and writing was like your saving, right? Was that like a conversation you would have with other inmates that were around you? Or more something that was personal for you?
Wonderful question. So he asked me about the writing that I did while I was doing inside, and writing being a refuge for me. Was it something that I just kept to me, or did I share with other folks, with other men around me inside? Yeah. So this is probably before that time. This is a website called Blogspot. So I had this website called pensfromthepen.blogspot.com way back in the 2000s. So I would write inside, I write essays about the things that was happening, prison conditions. I would interview sometimes other men inside who were wrongfully convicted and publish it up there. I would write about issues of deportation, things back home in Trinidad. So I was somebody who would, to put an end to is that, yes, I shared it. It was a gift that I had. What you got back there? Yeah, say your name, I'm not saying it, say it out loud. Lloyd is Lloyd. Use your schoolyard voice.
Okay. My question is, who do you owe for your success?
I expect nothing less from the school in terms of the second question. Who do I owe my success to? I have a community of people that have not given up on me. And if I was to say one person, it would be difficult to say one person, but I have a community of people who have never given up on me. And obviously my family, those sort of people, they're mentors that I met while I was inside, who also supported me. There's definitely mentors that I met since I've been home. It's a community effort. I can't single out one person necessarily, but I will say this, right? I think it's appropriate to say that question. My father used to read to me as a child. As I recall learning, I knew how to read by the age of 4, like really well, right? And my father read to me every night, and in so many ways, and my mother taught me how to write with good penmanship. You know what I mean? Which is the thing that I know we struggle with. But I will say though that I think so my father and mother, but definitely my father is a person who put an emphasis on learning how to read and also researching. Yeah. So yeah, you back there, then I'm gonna come on this side, right on this side. Yeah, say your name. What? Jay Sean? You just schoolyard voice, I know you got me. Jay Sean. There you go. Dude, this is Santa Claus. Do I feel any regrets for the decisions I made? At arrest?
Do you have any regrets for the choices you made as an adolescent?
As an adult? Oh, adolescent, I'm sorry. Do I have any regrets for the choices I made as an adolescent? Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the other part is that you can only do what you know, right? At that point in time. And as an adolescent, as what you all are right now, smack dab inside adolescence, there's a lot of uncertainty about who you are as a person. You may not say it like that, but as an adult looking back on adolescence, I understand that. There's a lot of uncertainty about who you are. And part of that uncertainty, when you have that uncertainty, with a combination of traumatic experiences, it's not an excuse for what I'm about to say next. But I'm just telling you that when you have an uncertainty of who you are mixed with traumatic experience, like seriously traumatic experience as a young person, there's a good likelihood that you're going to make bad choices. And I'm not happy with some of the choices I made as a young person. I came over here, man. I'm going to come over here on this side and come back to the middle. I got shots in the middle.
So my name is Cameron, and I just have a question for you, right?
Yes.
So looking at who you are right now, and the experience and how they made who you are, if you were to go back in time and speak to your other self, how would you talk yourself out of that that you didn't know how to do now?
I mean, the book I write a letter to my younger self. It opens up with a letter to my younger self. But so the question, like, what would I say to my younger self in terms of the decisions I made then? I mean, or in terms of the things I was contemplating to do or being part of at that time. I think I will reiterate some of the things I said in the opening, in the words in the closed brief talk I gave. People were telling me that I had an ability to communicate well. I didn't understand that at that point, what that meant. People were telling me, like, hey, Mom, you can communicate well. You're a really good writer. Starting young in the 7th grade, what was I don't know. I didn't know whatever it was at that time. And I would talk to my young self about, like, really investing with that man and what I can do with that. I didn't know what you do with writing. I didn't know what you would, okay, you write, what you can do with it, can you make money, and what does that mean? I didn't understand, I just knew I was good at it. And I didn't have any sort of, I didn't have a purpose behind it or anything like that. So, speaking to my young self, who was in front of me today, is that the skills that you have and the talents that you have, take time to find out the purpose of it, what you can do with it. And I'm not talking about the career you can have. That's another conversation. And they can be the one and the same thing. But what I'm saying to you is that, like, there are some gifts and talents that people have been saying to you some point in your life. Friends, parents, uncles, teachers, mentors, coaches, whatever. They say things and you're like, I don't know what that means, just move on. When next time somebody offers you a compliment about something that you've done, a test result, whatever it is, take some time to contemplate why you. And not just saying it to you and think about the next person. It's saying it to you for a reason. And accept it. I think it's the other part. Accept the good things that people said about you. That's a hard thing to do as young black and brown folk, to accept the good things that people say about us. And much more, for many reasons, more willing to accept the negative things people say about us. And own it and embody it and become it, as opposed to accepting, owning, and becoming the good things that people say about you. Thanks for that. So, middle. Yeah.
My name is Cecil.
Cecil, who knows Cecil?
Number one, happy Labor Day to your daughter.
Thank you very much.
Sorry for your loss to your father.
Thank you.
I got 2 questions. Number one, as a trainee,
Yes, I am.
did you go down with the kind of route?
I didn't. I had plans to go, but I was dealing with my father. But I had plans. All right.
The second one is, if you could go back, what would you change about, like, what you did? Is there any mistakes that you go back and change?
I think it's a mistake I go back and change from yesterday. And that's part of what life is. I think it's part of it. So let me just say this also. When you become an adult, it doesn't change automatically. Right? You still can be making mistakes. It may not be the same type of mistake, but you can go make mistakes. It doesn't stop when you reach college or when you reach 21. So I just want to get that myth out of your head. But what I would say, I want to say the same thing is, it's a message, part of like getting a message to people's repetition, saying it over and over again. I would accept the good things that people said about it. It sounds so simple. You read the book, you'll see why it was so difficult for me. I would accept the good things people said about me. I refuse to accept the good things people said about me. Gotcha. And I see the
My name is Sirius.
Serious? All right.
And you know how you said, like, after you got released from prison, did you find it, like, harder to make it inside of, like, the book industry? Or, like, do you think, like, did it, like, affect the way people looked at you when you were writing books and saying that you came out of prison?
I love that question. You asked me when I came out, did it impact negatively how I got into the book industry, right? So I'm telling you a story about sharing stories. and how it got me into the book industry. So the editors, when you write a book, you have an editor who, like, corrects, pretty much corrects your writing, whatever. You have an agent. An agent is a person that, like, gets your book into the world and gets you paid and all that sort of stuff, right? I met my agent and editor in a way through speaking to young people. So that program, How, that I spoke about, I originally started it in a middle school in Brownsville, right? And then we came here to high school, so middle school in Brownsville. Part of what I had connections to through work I was doing. I was doing work while I was in prison too, right? In a way, but not this sort of work. But I had a relationship with a college, upstate New York, Madison College, right? I came home in the summer about May and I had organized a trip for those middle school students to that college. I walked into that college, and me being a person who had never really been to any like private university, this is pretty much what I would come to understand as a prestigious university. I expected to see as a professor, white people as professors. I walk into the room, however, to the contrary, and I see a brother with some Air Force Ones, some blazers, and some jeans on, and he comes and puts his hand out to me and says, "Marlon, I'm a fan of your work." I had been home 6 months. What work? I forgot that I had that website. He had been reading my work. I had no idea. I had never seen consent before I went to prison. So I didn't know how that worked. I just knew somebody that would send something home and somebody would put it up there. I never got to see it until I came home. That professor, K.S.A. Lehman, became a buddy of mine who is now a New York Times bestseller, all the things, movies, all that. His student would become my agent. So I'm just kind of speaking to you that, like, I didn't see that happening. It was literally just speaking to young people. I brought young people, I wanted to expose them to a college that I had not even been to. And I met a person who eventually who was somehow reading my stuff, who would become the person who introduced me to my agent. So to answer your question, I had no problem getting into the book industry. The book industry wanted me. I had a question right there. Go ahead, Michelle.
My name is Messiah.
Messiah, that's Messiah.
My question is, was there ever a point in your life where you thought things were going too hard and you wanted to give up? And if you did, how'd you get through it?
Yeah, it was at a point in my life where things were getting too hard, I wanted to give up. I think there were probably more points in my life where I wanted to give up than I wanted to succeed at one point. Yes, and the answer is yes. There's definitely points I wanted to give up. And that didn't even start in prison. Like, there were so many things growing up in the community with things I was a part of that I wanted to give up. So the answer is yes, there's definitely points. Oh, did that discourage y'all? That's why y'all leaving? No, I'm kidding. No. So to answer your question, aside, you asked me again, there were points in my life where I was discouraged, I wanted to give up. That's part of what life does to me at times. Absolutely at times. Absolutely there are times.
I think he was also asking about time, like, how did you get over it?
Or how did I get over it? Yeah. It may sound corny to you. I don't mean this right. When you read the book, like, it's very personal. Writing really got me through a lot. I don't mean that, as I said, not in some pie in the sky type story. To me, words got me through it. Emotions are a set of words that create a feeling. Right? How you feel sad. Sad is a word, but it's also a feeling. Right? One of the things is that me being able to use words and getting better at using words to be able to very much articulate what I was feeling is what helped me get through it. And then the other part of it is, once again, like I said, is that there are people in my circle who didn't give up. Some of the same people who was in my ear became better. You know, and that helped me out a lot. Are we doing time for more questions? Or
One last question.
one last question? It's going to be the best question of the evening, right?
Alright, so
No question.
I had to stand up for this question, only because of controversial, but we mentioned accepting the good things people say. My question is kind of has multiple parts, right? So why do you think it was hard for you to accept those good things? That's number one. Was it a way of self-punishment? That's number two. And number three is, how do you think that speaks to a young man's desire to do good
First part of the question was about when I spoke to me not being able to accept the good things you said about me. Like, why is that? Why is that? My parents were immigrants from another country, and they were here struggling to me and figuring out the working and doing all the things. So this immigrant story, that what I'm bringing them into this is that because they were being supposed to trying to be good parents and work and make a living and all that sort of stuff for us, they also didn't know what possibilities were for the children. They knew that for them, they just wanted the children to have a better life, but they didn't know what that meant. And when I'm saying that, there's no fault of it, just me just understanding them as humans. So when I'm saying that leads me to this is that the skills and gifts and talents that I had, they also didn't know what I could do with it. That's one thing. Now you go out to you go into the streets, you go into schools and all those sort of things, and I have had many things negative and jumped and beat and robbed and so forth. Something that happened to me growing up in schools here in New York City and in the community that I came from, Crown Heights. It became too hard to see what good could happen for me. It was literally, I remember being 18 years old and saying to my older sister one time, like, hey, I don't think I'm gonna make it out. I don't think I'm gonna live to 21. And I wasn't a gangster. I wasn't a gang member. I wasn't none of that. I was in the neighborhood. I'm gonna just say that. So I'm saying to you that like the negativity around me trumped the positivity that I had within me. That's why I keep saying to you, you can create. I keep saying you can create. You have to believe. You gotta like beat into your head that you can be better than your circumstances. You have to say it to yourself. For me, I had to write it to myself. Right? So that's to answer that question to why it was so hard. It was so hard because I didn't see any way out of the rut that I was in. And the second part of your question, I apologize for the second part. Was it a way of self-punishment? Me not accepting goodness about me. I couldn't see anything else. I literally couldn't see anything else. When as I said, I'm not going to get into detail about the things that happened to me when I was 14 and 9th grade because you would need to talk me through that, right? But when the things that had happened to me as a young person, it was so powerful, it was so heavy. I could not see anything beyond that pain. I couldn't, at 14 years old, I couldn't understand. I didn't speak to anybody, I held it to myself, and so I couldn't see beyond the pain of that circumstance. I just couldn't. I wanted to, and there was some, I was still doing okay in school. I didn't become a terrible, person in the neighborhood and all that sort of stuff. But there were things I got myself involved in now because, I need to protect myself. And the only thing as a kid growing up at one point, the only thing I thought about every day was how do I protect myself? Safety was the thing I thought about every day. Once I walked out of my apartment. My apartment was a safe space, but once I walked outside, it was like, oh my God, I gotta be safe. And that's why I can see I gotta be safe. I gotta be safe. So I didn't have time to think about the other things also. The thing that was available to me, I just couldn't see it. I need to think about the thing that, unfortunately, so many of us don't think about is like how to survive today. And that's what I'm trying to say. I close my nose time, right? In terms of like me being here with you, sharing this story as a writer, as a running person who runs an organization, a person who has experiences, a person who's been to travel the world over, sometimes over, is that, like I keep saying, it wasn't in the cards. It wasn't in the cards for me, I couldn't see it. But there were obviously people around me who saw it. I couldn't. I could have cut some time out of the traumatic events that happened to me. It took me a long time to get to it. You dig what I'm saying, y'all? I'm asking y'all right now to cut the time to your greatness. Cut the time to your greatness. You don't have this route. I went a long route. There's a lot of hurt that's in that route. I'm not, and it's my journey. That was my journey, and I accept that. But the point I'm saying to you all young folks in this room right now is that like I'm not here for no reason. At one point I didn't have to be here today because I was dealing with the situation with my father. But I understand that this labor of love is for the reason, for the purpose of this, for you to cut your journey and the time that it takes to get to the greatness that is waiting for you. It's waiting for you. All the stuff here that I get to do now was waiting for you. And I'm asking you all, so I'm asking when I leave this my last word. Just step into it.
One more time for Marlon Peterson. Come time to greatness.